Good evening, thanks for coming. I'm Lieutenant Heimer. I'm the Day Watch Commander for Tucker Precinct. I appreciate you all coming out tonight for this kind of impromptu meeting. Also appreciate we have the other precincts, the leadership of our other precincts here as well, so it's good, and that's something that, the reason we're doing this is to exchange information, to get information out there, and one of the key things is all of us working together, so it's good to see them out here as well. I'll start off by just letting you know who's up here and who I am. Like I said, I'm Lieutenant Heimer. I've been with the department for 13 years. I've worked in narcotics for 5, up in major felony as a supervisor for 3, and part of our proactive street teams in Tucker here and in South Precinct. And so I have a pretty wide range of experience. Detective Case is part of our Tucker CID, and this is your territory, right? For this, and so he'll have questions if you want to answer any questions whatsoever in regards to specifics in your territory, where you live. Sorry, I'm used to saying territory because it's what we reference everything as. And I'll start with that. So this area here where you're sitting is actually called the 520s. That's the beat number, and the 520s pushes up to the 240s, which is Center Precinct, with a division line of what, Henderson Road? And that's the division line between the two. So it was really important. What we wanted to do is to get together with the citizens from both sides, from the North Central Precinct, from the Tucker Precinct together, so we can put all the information out and answer all the questions and kind of make everybody feel at ease and let them know what we're doing on our end and what we can do better, and basically kind of gel more of us with you, because that's really what's gonna fix DeKalb and fix Tucker and fix everybody. You know, is the ability for all of us to work together for that. I want to start out by, so basically I was going to start this meeting talking about burglary. That's kind of what I wanted to do in reference to the recent, on TV, the victim had a broadcaster giving stuff to the WSB, and they broadcast in reference to the burglary that occurred, and they had video of it, and WSB was talking about more burglaries that occurred that day. So I initially done this to discuss that, and as I was researching for it, I spoke with Lieutenant Smith, who was liaison for City of Tucker. And he was making it known to me some additional stuff, which are entering autos, which is, and we can group all that together as property crime. And again, this is what these detectives handle. They handle our property crimes. And so I'm kind of touch on both of those tonight. First off, I'm going to explain what burglary is, because a lot of people have a tendency to say, oh, you know, my house got robbed. Well, that's incorrect. Your house cannot get robbed. Your house can be burglarized. And the legal definition of it is, a person commits the offense of burglary in the first degree when, without authority and with the intent of committing a felony or theft therein, he or she enters or remains within an occupied, unoccupied, or vacant dwelling house or any other building. So basically, if an individual comes into your location and steals something from your location and they weren't asked to be at that location or have no right to be at that location, that's a burglary. And you know, when we talk about burglaries, we talk about a lot of stuff. Janine Hightower is our public education specialist, and Al Fuller for North Central. And you know, they're going to give you all sorts of ideas and information on how to better secure your house, how to better make your house a harder target. So the idea is, if your house is a hard target, your neighbor's is, and then your whole neighborhood is a hard target, and then your block is a whole hard target, eventually these people are going to, the people that are committing these crimes are going to move somewhere else. First off, I want to talk about the numbers. In actuality, and I know there's been a lot of heat and a lot of press about burglaries, but in actuality, these are the most recent numbers. Our county is down 17% in burglaries from last year. Tucker Precinct in particular, the precinct of Tucker, is down 29%, and the city of Tucker is down 16% from last month?
Last year.
From last year. So what we're seeing across the board with these numbers is we're seeing a reduction, and I think we're seeing a reduction based off of even though our resources are more limited. It seems like every month, every week, every day, you know, we lose more officers, and recruitment is extremely hard. It's not what it used to be. And we're working more with less. And it's a huge challenge. And I think even in the face of that, I can speak for my officers, and we can speak to the other day watch commanders for North Central Precinct. Our guys are expected to do more with less and more often in more dangerous circumstances. So kind of explain to you what officer responses are just before we get into talking about it, just so you kind of get an overview. And again, this is to speak to the effect of our officers that we have out here and what they have to do. So I kind of broke up policing, what we do on an everyday basis, into 4 categories. We do what's called crime prevention, which is our proactive patrolling, and which is an idea to reduce criminal activity through higher visibility. We go to areas and we foster community involvement and support, and we usually have specialized units that assist us in being proactive in what we're doing. In other words, going out there and actually trying to deter through proactivity. The second thing officers always have to do is what I would classify as law enforcement. And that's more of reactive deterrence. And that's going to be, you make a 911 call or there's a domestic call and our officers have to respond to that. And they go out and handle that situation particularly. And reactive policing, of course, is more traditional. That's what you always expect when you hear about a police officer. I called the police and they showed up. The officer will, like I said, will go to the scene, and at that point, he's going to react and perform the services needed at that scene. The third things our officers do is what I would refer to as order maintenance or security. And that's kind of like making sure that that the public doesn't get, if we have a demonstration or if we have any kind of event which is going to look like it's going to become a larger problem for the rest of the community, our guys are also, guys and girls are responsible for the security of that. So that's another job that they have to do. And last, which probably takes up most of our officers nowadays, which gets exceedingly harder, is social services. And that's the community welfare. So, and when I'm saying this is because my officers every day have to do these four things. They're responsible for these four things. Social services, especially with community welfare, every day grows more and more of a challenge for our officers. We're expecting our officers now to be proactive, to be out there in your neighborhoods driving through. We're expecting them to be reactive. When something happens to your house, we're expecting them to be right there. We're expecting them to maintain order. In other words, go to the areas and make sure that if something looks like it's going to be bad, it's not going to become a huge problem and spill over to where I live or my business. And we also ask them to be social services representatives in the field. They're the first line for social services, not DFACs, not anybody else. They're the first line. So I expect my officers, just as you do, just as our county does, for them to do all four of these things. Now, the problem with this is that our officers, as anyone you can ask to tell you, our number of officers has decreased dramatically and continues to decline. So I've worked with our criminal investigative unit. I've worked with our Tucker liaison, working straight with Tucker as much as we can. You know, as far as them with their cityhood. And I know it's a fledgling cityhood, and it's hard for y'all. I mean, it's a new program for y'all, so you know, just another feather that we have to get into your cap. And we work with North Precinct, North Central Precinct, and we work with Gwinnett, we work with everybody in an effort to kind of merge everything together so that we can all make sure that we're all on the same sheet of music with this. Now I'd like to explain to you what some of my guys have to do. Some of the techniques that my guys have been using recently, and this goes across the boards with, you know, uniform in general, some of the things we've been doing to try and affect what's happening with these burglaries, and our entering auto problem as well, is we're doing what's called directed patrolling. And directed patrolling is a structured patrol designed to address specific problems. In other words, we have uniformed officers out there, not responding to calls, but solely out there to be proactive, to try and nip a problem before it develops. We have plainclothes officers. We utilize CID in plainclothes capacity, and we also utilize some of our officers in a plainclothes capacity to go out in civilian cars, not marked cars, and drive around. You know, and when we can, we also utilize our license plate readers. And you know, a lot of times when these burglaries occur, they usually occur with a vehicle that's large enough to carry away your TV. And as you saw, like in that video, you know, these guys are in a little sedan and they're trying to put a TV in the back of the sedan and the door didn't even close. So what we tend to see more often from the ones that have a little more forethought of what they're doing is they usually steal vans and SUVs and things like that to make sure they can carry the larger items away. So we try to employ license plate readers whenever we can as well also, because those vehicles are often stolen. We also work closely not only with the Tucker investigative unit because they develop the patterns, we also work with our intelligence unit. And like I said, this is to track the patterns, and it also develops areas where best to utilize our manpower and our officers to the fullest capacity. You know, and the problem is the suspects that we're talking about here, they don't know borders. They don't know Tucker, City of Tucker, and unincorporated DeKalb, and North Precinct, and Tucker Precinct, and Gwinnett. They just know an area, and they go to an area. And so it's hard for us, it's a challenge for us to get everybody in the same sheet of music, because again, we have the liaison with the North Central Precinct, we have the liaison with Tucker, we have the liaison with everyone to try and get all this information together. And like I said, these perps they're not looking at boundaries, they're not gonna go, oh, well, I'm just gonna stay in Tucker and, burglarize houses, that's all I'm gonna do. Oh, that's Henderson, I can't cross that goes on North Central. They're just moving to where the prey is, and that's what they're trying to do. Each precinct has limited resources, and I think that we're doing a much better job cooperating like we do with our brother and sister precincts that we have in the county, and also working with our investigative units, and also working with our intelligence unit. We have an intelligence unit headquarters that tracks crime patterns and sees how they developed. Let's see how they develop and try and feed us that information so that we can better address it and we can utilize our resources better. One of the most important things, though, is the information sharing between citizens. And we have great public education specialists, and we have our liaison at Tucker to help accomplish this, and that's sharing information with you all. Because if you look at it and you look at the best way, in my opinion, to beat crime is kind of trifold. It's going to be the government, it's going to be the community, and it's going to be the police. And I think when it works together, it actually is successful. I think what we need to do, I think you're all doing a great job of this, but what I'd like to hear more of, and not only have I lived in the county most of my career, I lived over here at Lake Ivanhoe for a year. So, I'm a member of this community, like many officers are, we're members of this community. But when we're deploying these resources, the most important resource we have, internally or externally, is you. It's the public. That's our best resource. I think a lot of times people don't want to jump to conclusions. They don't want to call something in because they're worried how it's going to look, them reporting it, or it's worried because, oh, well, that might be a car sitting in front of my neighbor's house. I don't know. So I think a lot of times people they don't want to jump to conclusions, and they say, I don't want to bother the police will deal with it later. We hear that more often than not. Like, why didn't you call 911? Well, I didn't think it was an emergency. But you never know what's going to prevent a crime, and you never know what's going to solve a crime. The fact that you saw a car in your neighborhood and you got a tag is what, after your house or your neighbor's house may be burglarized or car may be broken into, we give that information to our CID guys, and they follow up on it, and that's how we end up finding who gave them that car. Twist them, and they end up telling us who that perp might be, and then boom, there's a case solved. I mean, not only solving your crime, but also preventing future crime. If you see somebody in your neighborhood that shouldn't be there, pick up the telephone. That's the main thing we're trying to get out. And I know the public education specialists say it all the time, and my officers say it at every call they go to. I make sure that they know this. Pick up the phone and call us. We're here for you. We're here to keep the neighborhood safe. We're here to keep the community safe. And we're doing the best that we can with the resources we have available. But we need you. In this community, it's our police, our residents, our businesses, and our government, in both the city of Tucker and DeKalb County as a whole. We want everybody to be ever vigilant, and that, I think, is a key phrase that people need to make sure that they understand nowadays in this day and time, to be ever vigilant of what's going on around you. And without us working together, it doesn't work at all. And that's kind of the point that I wanted to get out tonight, is if we have more interaction with the public, and the public has more interaction with us and assists us, you guys are going to be our frontline investigators. You guys are going to be our frontline 911 information, because the information we get on the 911 radio, or through radio, or the information we get from another officer, you're feeding that information to us. Radio just doesn't. The dispatchers just don't come up and say, hey, you know what, I think there's a suspicious car over here off Lake Ivanhoe. You're the front line. You've reported it. You've said that, and we go over and we can address it. And the more timely that we can do that, and the better that my sergeants can allocate the resources as to who needs to handle the calls in a reactive manner and who they can put proactively at that, all stems from the citizens letting us know and the business owners letting us know what's going on in their communities. You know your communities. My officers know your communities, but you know your communities better than anybody does. You know what your neighbors are doing. You know when your neighbors are leaving. And there's a bunch of things that we can go through here, and I'll run through them. And these should be the same things that everyone hears all the time. And just following simple standards here is really what helps decrease crime and helps us apprehend who we need to. Lock all the windows in your house and in your vehicle. You know, most of our entering autos are done in open cars. I mean, the percentage is, what, 80, probably 80% are done with unsecured vehicles. So lock your vehicles and lock your house. Keep your curtains and blinds closed when you're not at home. I mean, it's, you know, if you let somebody see inside your car and see something of value or see something of value in your house, you know, these are opportunists. These guys don't come out here. There's no, you know, professional burglar. I mean, you got guys that do this till they get caught and then they graduate to something else. And, you know, what they're doing is they're opportunists. They're going to go by, they're going to knock on doors, they're going to see if somebody's there, they're going to see what the chances are of getting into that location and see what they can get out of it. So try and eliminate that opportunity. Always remove valuables from your vehicles, never leave stuff in there. Change, even if you leave change. Some people open car door just trying to get change and it leads to everything else. Let your neighbors know when you're planning to be out of town. That's key. Let your neighbors know, communicate with your neighbors. Call police if you see a vehicle in your neighborhood that you don't recognize. You know, you're not bothering us, you're not bothering somebody else, you're not, you know, you need to be involved. And you're not going to hurt somebody's feelings because somebody's in a neighborhood that we didn't recognize and we came up and we just said hi to them. Because that's all we're doing. We're going up and saying hi. Hey, what are you doing here? Oh, you're working on that house? Okay, great, thanks. That's it. No, you're not hurting anybody's feelings, you know? I mean, they should, in this day and age, they should accept it and they should understand it. They don't live there, you do. They don't have a business there, you do. Call the police if someone comes to your home asking to see you or asking any questions at your home. I mean, if somebody comes to your door and it's not us or, you know, somebody that you've made an appointment to have come by, let us know. I mean, you're not going to bother us because a lot of times these guys put feelers out to see what's available with somebody's home and somebody's not. And there's an interesting thing that I was going to bring up real quick. It's really interesting that I read. You know, I had done some research, and a community outside of Pittsburgh, about the same as ours, it's a metro area of Pittsburgh, they had a subdivision that had been had a lot of burglars entering autos, and there was really only one or two ways into that subdivision. And all the homeowners in the subdivision got together and pitched in, and they put these HD cameras at the entrance and exit to their subdivision. They hid them. And I was reading the reports on it and how they did it afterwards, and it was so high def that they were getting the tags off these cars coming and going. And sure enough, when things happened, they gave it to the police. The investigators backtracked it, saw the cars that came in, ran the plates, what cars needed to be there, what cars didn't. And one of the pictures that I'd seen from it actually had a picture of the driver when he came in. I mean, it was that good of a camera. And you know, it's a small amount to pay. And I live in a subdivision. If my subdivision came and asked me for it, I'd be like, yeah, what do you need, 25 bucks? You know, if you got like 100 people in your subdivision, you can get a great system to put up there. But that's just something that I learned when I'd gone through that. And pretty much, I mean, I know we can't be here all night. The librarians want to go home as well. But what I want to say is, and try and get across to everybody is, you know, it's a challenging time across the boards for everybody, you know, particularly for law enforcement right now. And I think that our guys do the best job that they can do. And I think that the numbers, you know, the numbers that have to speak for themselves. All these guys I've worked with for years, all these guys and girls I've worked with for years, and I know the level of dedication that we have. But to really do it, to really make it work, to really execute, it's all on you. It's the members of the community. That's who we need to help us do what we can do and help us do what we can do better.
I guess last Monday, y'all are aware of the video that was released in the media over off of Henderson Road, right across the street, over off of Cardinal Drive. I think it was Woodcrest Court. Another home was broken into. The first incident happened around 10:22 in the morning, and it was a gray Honda Civic, four-door, 3 black males, backed in the driveway. One of the cameras actually was hidden by some garland that they had on the front door. We would have got a better look at the vehicle. We did not get a tag number off of it. It is about a 2013 Honda Civic. We've come across several different people calling in and saying they think they know where it is, blah, 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 and all that other stuff. Right now, we're waiting on crime scene. I did have crime scene go out to the location and dust for fingerprints. The only thing is more than likely a lot of the fingerprints that the crime scene tech actually got was probably going to be from the residents themselves. What a lot of people don't understand is when we do go out there to a home, the uniform officer will make the decision whether or not crime scene will be contacted. It depends on the surface itself, what was touched, if there's any dust, dirt, anything like that, you can pretty much eliminate, the fact that we'll dust footprints or anything like that. There was another location, I think that day there was 4 altogether. One was off of Regal Woods, one was another street inside of Regal Woods subdivision. That's it. There was no video, like everybody's been saying. I've actually talked to the gentleman who does have video of the street, and he's like, no, I don't have video of the actual incident occurring. This was about an hour and a half after the first one off of Henderson Road. The method of entry is a little bit different. So, the one off of Henderson, the 2 off of Henderson is actually front door kicked in. The other ones are in the rear of the location. We did recover blood from the one off Argent.
All right.
Yes. Most of the time with residential burglaries, just to let y'all know, these young folks, I've seen them as early as 9 o'clock in the morning happen. Depends on the area, how close they are, what type of schools you're dealing with. Usually in an area like this, you'll probably see it around 10 o'clock in the morning. Anywhere from 10 o'clock to about 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Most of the time, they don't want any confrontation with anybody. That's why they do it during the daytime when most people are working. Okay? When you hear something on the news about home invasions, it's usually because it's drug related or some kind of debt that's owed to somebody. So, yeah, just like the lieutenant was saying, y'all see what's going on in your neighborhood. If you feel uneasy, person's acting strange, people come up to your door saying, hey, we're looking for so-and-so, or y'all need your leads raked, or some BS line, something's wrong, just call us. We'll come out there, get a description. Some people find it within themselves not to even call us, and next thing you know, they're calling in a burglary in progress, and everybody's going crazy.
Do you call the precinct or 911?
I'll call 911, yeah, to be honest with you.